changed my strings about 3 months ago. I always leave it way longer than I expect, and I'm always surprised when I look at my channel and see that it's been so long. But the last strings I put on here were Fender Bullet-ends, and I wanted to see what they sounded like. I wasn't too impressed. They weren't amazing. They weren't too dull. They weren't too zingy. They were kind of acceptable. They didn't really excite me. The reason I tried them was the specific design of that bullet end fits into the tremolo bar, into the whammy bar in a way that is supposed to retain tuning better when you're using the whammy bar. So regular strings have a way of, when the whammy bar is loose, the strings get loose, and then when you release the whammy bar and the strings tighten up again, the end of the regular wound string has a way of going back in there inconsistently. So it's kind of a loop that might go into the whammy bar socket in a different way. So there's a minimally different kind of tuning that happens each time. And the bullet head design is supposed to fit evenly in there, so no matter which way the string gets twisted or turned, it's going to go back to exactly the same exact length. So scientifically accurate tuning. This was the theory that I read online. But when I tried it out myself, that didn't seem to bear out. Using the tremolo bar made the thing as out of tune as if they were regular strings. So not that impressed with the design factor. When I bought those strings, though, I did buy these just out of curiosity. I saw them on Amazon when I was ordering the bullet-end strings, and these are authentic Hendrix'S, Fender, Voodoo Child strings, and I was just curious. Okay, well, how good can these be? And the selling factor on these is they're supposed to help you replicate Hendrix's sound. Not sure I play quite like Hendrix, so I'm not going to replicate his sound, but using an octafuzz pedal and these strings, I figured let me just noodle around a little bit and see what they sound like and see what the strings sound like. One of the differentiating factors of these strings is that they're light action on the low strings and high action on the high strings. So I guess what that does is you get a little extra volume on the high strings. You have to push that a little bit harder to bend them, but they are still 10 to 38, so they're 10s. They're not that heavy on the high string, but they're definitely not 9, so they're a little heavier. And on the lower strings, because they're kind of lighter, it's a little easier. So it's a little easier to hammer on and bend with these lower strings, so it doesn't maybe fatigue the hand as much when you're soloing up and down the strings. So I wanted to try that out, and what I found is they're definitely a little nicer sounding than the other standard bullet-end strings I tried. I still needed to roll a lot of the treble off and on the guitar and bring a lot of bass in because they felt a little bit too bright and a little too trebly, and that's interesting to me because I tend to find the same with Fender amps. I tend to find by default they're a little bright. So using my Timmy pedal, which helps me even out the tone, and using the bass on the guitar, I was able to get a warmer tone out of them. But even with the extra brightness that they seem to have, this particular design of strings, once I'd evened it out, it still to me sounded better than the standard bullet-end. So I kind of like these Hendrix versions of the bullet-ends. So I'll give you a listen to what they sound like here. You can make up your own mind, but I think they're pretty cool. So as always, if I try something new, I'm just curious about it, and I like to share my thoughts on the channel. If you like what you see on the channel, please do go ahead and click the like button, hit subscribe, and use the bell icon so you're notified when I post new content, and I'll see you again in the next video.